If you have a huge platform and millions of fans, what kind of responsibility do you have to give people reliable and factual information about the pandemic? That's the question we are asking after Joe Rogan gave his millions of listeners some controversial and, frankly, incorrect advice on his Spotify podcast. Take a listen.
And people say, do you think it's safe to get vaccinated? I've said, yeah, I think for the most part it's safe to get vaccinated. I do. But if you're like 21 years old and you say to me, should I get vaccinated? I go, no. Yeah. Are you healthy? Are you a healthy person? Like, look, don't do anything stupid, but you should take care of yourself. You should, if you're a healthy person and you're exercising all the time and you're young and you're eating well, like, I don't think you need to worry about this.
So what does science have to say about young, healthy people getting vaccinated? Here's how Dr. Fauci responded to Rogan's comments on the Today Show.
Well, that's incorrect, Savannah. And the reason why is that you're talking about yourself in a vacuum then. But you can get infected and will get infected if you put yourself at risk. It is likely that you, even if you have no symptoms, that you may inadvertently and innocently then infect someone else. So if you want to only worry about yourself and not society, then that's okay. But if you're saying to yourself, even if I get infected, I could do damage to somebody else, even if I have no symptoms at all. And that's the reason why you've got to be careful and get vaccinated.
Now, we are already getting a lot of comments from our DBL Nation. Jeff, what did you make about Joe Rogan's comments?
I'm a big fan of Joe Rogan, and I think it's unfair to take that one little soundbite out of context, right? And I understand how you feel, Sam, but he does a 3-hour show on purpose. I think he does do his due diligence. He says, I am not a doctor. Please don't listen to my opinions. I think he's advocating for people to take care of themselves during a pandemic. He always talks about vitamin D, talking about taking care of yourself. It will help if you get COVID, right? So in this particular context, his word is not gospel. He says it's not. I think as an adult, you need to listen to whether it be a podcast, whether it be a TV show, CNN, Fox News, and come up with your own opinions. You can't take what someone says, whether it be celebrity, athlete, whoever it may be, Joe Rogan, and take their word as gospel and move forward with that.
I agree with you and I disagree with you. So I agree with you that people should not take his word for gospel. But unfortunately, if you go on Twitter right now, or if you go on our comment section, you see that people are using Joe Rogan's words to validate their ideologies. And that's a problem.
That's silly.
Well, that's a problem. And because that is a fact, that's the way people react in this day and age to what a celebrity says. Unfortunately, it does boil down to the cost of lives. It does. And I take offense to it. But I also love Joe Rogan. I've been to his stand-up shows. I've paid money to go to his stand-up shows. I listen to his podcast.
He's also a comedian.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I know. But his words also matter. Millions of people follow him. And I don't want him to erase and minimize the suffering of so many young people who did not have underlying health conditions, who did not have pre-existing conditions, who were healthy, who did take their health and treated it to the upper echelon that he's not giving credit to, because otherwise he's minimizing and he's erasing the suffering. I know a lot of those families because there's a support group that my family has been a part of to people that have been affected by COVID. You all know that my brother-in-law has been affected by COVID since early January, on a ventilator, on ECMO, which is life support, in a coma, finally got a double lung transplant, and he's still not out of the woods. He's going to be in the hospital for another 3 to 6 months. That's excruciating. 9 months of his life gone, not to mention how it's going to affect the rest of his life. So I need to correct Joe Rogan here, because even though I love you, Joe Rogan, even though that you and I can have difference in opinion, here, I don't want to cancel Joe Rogan. I think that's wrong. I want Joe Rogan to educate himself. Look at the suffering that so many families have had to endure with young, literally, some of them are 4 years old that have been on a ventilator, that had no pre-existing conditions. Some of them teenagers, some of them young 20-somethings. Healthy. My brother-in-law snowboards, surfs, skateboards, healthy as can be. So I just want Joe Rogan to educate himself, retract that statement, and be empathetic. And please, for the love of God, have the conversation, the right conversation with your listeners, so they don't use your words to somehow validate their incorrect ideology. That's where I'm coming from.
That's the truth. I told you, my dad's a funeral director. 3 years old is the youngest that he's had for COVID complications.
Right, and even if they don't die, they're on a ventilator, or they're on life support, or they're long haulers. So let's just remember that.